Hey FlossTube, welcome back. This is my 108th FlossTube video, and I'm excited to share with you what I have been working on. But first of all, I want to welcome you. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I hope that you enjoy the things that I have to share with you. And if you are returning, thank you for coming back and watching my videos. I really appreciate it. It's been about a month since my last video, and I have lots to share with you. I have a lot of good progress, and I'm excited to share that with you. Things are going well here. Spring has arrived. We are up in the 90s now with the temperatures, which is just a harbinger of things to come. We've had a pretty great week. My mother-in-law has been visiting, and so we've had everybody here, and it's been a really great week. So before I show you my progress, I just want to respond to a couple of comments that have been left since my last video. So first of all, Sarah asked me, what do I do with my finished pieces? And she asked if I frame them or what I do with them. Some of my pieces have been framed, and I've showed them once in a while. Most of my pieces are sitting in a bin, stored with everything else that I have. And I've said this before. I cross stitch because I enjoy stitching. I don't necessarily stitch to be able to put something on the wall. So framing isn't a big priority for me. And even if I were to frame everything, I don't have a place to hang everything up. So it's easy to store the pieces that I've finished rolled up in a bin than it would be to store them if they had all been framed. So like I say, my priority isn't to frame everything. My priority is to enjoy stitching. Also, Dog Motive asked me about stitching over one on even weave, and asked me if I've ever had problems with the floss slipping down behind the fabric threads. And I see that every once in a while when I've done that. It's not something that happens to me a lot. I find that that's kind of a tension thing. If I pull too hard, then the floss can kind of slip underneath the stitches. So I try to keep my tension just right so that it doesn't slip underneath the fabric threads. There are other things that you can do. They don't really work with the way that I like to stitch. You can complete each cross, and I think that's what most people do, and that kind of helps. But I've even seen stitching that way. Sometimes the floss pulls behind the fabric thread. So I think that the biggest thing is to just try not to pull too hard. Try not to pull the stitch so hard that it pulls it behind. They also talked about possibly working snake across, completing each cross as you go. I know that there are people who do that. I think that Brenda Handwork Maniac does that way, and if she doesn't, I know one of her daughters stitches that way. So I know that that's definitely a possibility. It's not the way that I would prefer working, but that would be something else. I think you just have to kind of experiment with the way you stitch and come up with the way that works best for you. There are several different techniques that people have come up with, and just choose what works best for what you want to do and gives you the best results. Okay, my last video I announced a giveaway. I had a viewer who I really want to thank you so much, offered one more set of magazines that has the Amid Amish Life pattern in it. Of course, I finished that and showed that in my last video. And I announced the video, so a giveaway. So here's one more chance for you to receive these patterns if you haven't. I had lots of people comment and participate in the giveaway. I had 63 participants, and the winner is Keith, Susan, Stone. So Keith or Susan, I don't know which one of you are stitchers, but congratulations. I am really excited to get these sent to you. So if you will contact me either in my email, which is down below, or also you can contact me DM through Instagram. Send me your address. I will send your address. I will then send your address to the person who offered these magazines, and she will get them sent out to you. I'm really excited to be able to do that. So thank you once again, everybody, for participating, and thank you so much to my viewer for making these magazines available. I know that that pattern is highly sought after, and any chance that we can give it, any chance that I can give for people to be able to stitch that design, I'm glad to be able to do. It is a really wonderful design, and I'm really happy with the way it turned out. Okay, so I have 4 pieces to show you today, my focus piece and 3 other pieces. And like I say, I have a lot of progress, and I'm really happy with what I've been able to stitch, so I'm excited to share that with you. So we'll start with the 3 pieces, and then we'll finish up with my focus piece. The first piece that I stitched, and this was what I said I was going to stitch after my last video, and that's this. This is Teresa Wentzler's English Cottage sampler. This is a design that I've had for years and years. My wife bought it for me right when I first started cross-stitching, and I've wanted to stitch it for forever, and I'm finally getting around to stitching it. I'm also using this to follow the rule. The rule is that you always have to be stitching a Teresa Wentzler. And so this is my Teresa Wentzler right now. So I'll show you what it looked like the last time you saw it. I am stitching this on 32 count Flax Belfast Linen, and I'm stitching with the called for DMC. And I started down at the bottom, and the bottom has been, I've really enjoyed stitching on it, except for there's this one border that goes across that has been a bit of a challenge for me, just because it's so monotonous and repetitive. So this is what it looks like now. This border is what has given me the biggest problem. I thought I'd have a hard time with the leaves. I really enjoy stitching the leaves, actually. I don't know what back stitching them is going to be like. I guess we will see when we get to that point. And that was backwards. I guess I better put it so it's front. Let's see here. Anyway, there we go. That looks a lot better. So this is the border that I've had a hard time with. I've stitched the leaves. I basically finished this border, finished all of the Roman numerals that come around under here, and then I worked around bringing this border up so that it's even with this one. I have a few more leaves to stitch over here, and then we'll work on the next thing that comes across. There's a border that goes around here with swans in the middle. I'm kind of excited to stitch that just because it's something different from what I've been working on. Also, I said this gave me problems. It gave me a lot of problems because I got over here and things weren't lining up correctly when I got over here. And it took me a while to figure out what I had done. And this is something, if you're stitching this is something for you to watch out for. It is symmetrical, but the pattern doesn't carry all the way across. There's not enough width to do an exact repeat of the pattern. So what she did instead of doing that is there's a center line and everything reflects around that center line. And so I stitched this just keeping the same pattern going across and forgetting that there's like a place where the same stitches are repeated, and then the pattern continues in a mirror image. And I missed that. And because I missed that, I got clear over here. There's no way to fudge something like that. It was going to look awful if I didn't change it because it wouldn't match. So I had to take out everything back to the center point and stitch it again. By that time, I really knew the pattern, and I really got into a rhythm, and I was determined to finish this so I wouldn't have to deal with it anymore. So I was able to recover pretty quickly, but it was kind of discouraging to realize I had to take out that much. But everything's fixed now, and I think it's looking pretty good. So I've got a good foundation. The good bottom part of the sampler is all ready to stitch, and I'm ready to move up into kind of the meat of the sampler, I think. So I'll give you a little bit closer look. Yeah, I'm really liking how this is turning out. I really love the colors. So this is English Cottage Sampler by Teresa Wentzler. Okay, the next piece that I worked on is this. This is Joy by AuryTM. This was a Christmas present from my kids a year ago, and I had my eyes on these for a long time, and I'm really excited to be stitching them. I've been posting, of course, I always post my progress on Instagram, and it's always fun when I'm working on a piece and the designer comments, and that's what happened this time. She commented on a couple of my photos, so that was kind of exciting. Basically, this is a set of 3 Quakers that are Christmas themed. This is the central design, and I plan on stitching the other 2 with there's a nativity in the middle around the joy. So I'll show you what it looked like the last time you saw it. And I am stitching this on, I've decided it's 28 count Lugana. And I'm stitching it with the called for DMC. This is what it looks like now. So once again, I stitched quite a bit of this. I finished this motif, and then I stitched all of this. So there's this diamond motif here, this wreath of leaves with the rose in the middle, and then this snowflake, and then this is a half motif that's kind of in the middle of the design rather than on the edge. And this is actually the corner. There's another motif that needs to be stitched right here, but that will probably be stitched next time. So I really finished like the top third of the design. The J for joy comes right through here, so this is right where the center where the nativity is. So I really think I'm making good progress. I think this is my 3rd week working on it, and I'm really happy with my progress. So I'll give you a little bit closer look. It's really cool. There are subtle differences in the reds. This red is rustier, and this is a little bit more on the blue side. So, and that's the way it is with a lot of these. Even the greens, the greens are very subtle. You have to really look to see the difference, and it's kind of an interesting effect. But this is Joy by AuryTM, and another piece that I'm excited to be stitching on. Okay, this next piece is what I've been working on this week, and I'm really happy with what I've been able to accomplish this time. I've been working on this. This is the Kooler Design Studio Autumn Sampler. It's designed by Sandy Orton, and I've already stitched one of these. There's 4, one for each season. I've stitched the winter sampler, and now I'm working on the autumn sampler because I have to stitch all 4 of them, of course. And so this has been kind of a fun piece to work on again. I'll show you what it looked like the last time you saw it. This is stitched on 28 count Tea Dyed Monaco, and of course stitched with the DMC. And I'm down in the corner. It's kind of like the Halloween section of the design. There's like a I'll show you. There's a girl dressed like a witch on a broomstick, and then you get into like school over here and autumn up here, and I've been stuck down here in the Halloween, which has been, I have to say, I'm not a big fan of stitching Halloween. So I'm really excited about is that I'm really close to finishing the Halloween section. You can see I've pretty much finished all of her dress. You can kind of see her broomstick is coming up through here. Now I finished the pumpkin. That pumpkin is finished. There's just a couple more leaves to stitch on the pumpkin. And then up here, this is the edge of the cornucopia. So I'm getting into Thanksgiving, and I'll be getting into the school section over here. This diagonal is almost finished. There's just a little bit more of this diagonal to finish, and when I finish this diagonal, I'll hit an apple, which is the bottom. There's apples that run along the bottom of here with the schoolhouse in the middle. But yeah, I'm really happy. I stitched about 2 diagonals, and I feel like I'm getting to a place where everything's going to start to transition. The next 2 diagonals will finish the witch, and then I'll be on to other sections of the design. Also, the stitching down here is really, really quite dense, but over here it's really sparse. There's a lot of space in here that's going to be filled in with backstitch. And so things should actually move a little bit faster when I get over through there. But yeah, this banner is almost finished. You can't read it now because it needs to be backstitched, but it will say Halloween. Okay, so this is Autumn Sampler by Sandy Orton of the Kooler Design Studio. Okay, and then my focus piece, which I am really happy with what I've been able to accomplish with this. Of course, my focus piece is Time and Season Sampler. This was a design that my wife gave me for our anniversary a couple years ago, and I've really enjoyed working on this. I love everything about this. I love the colors in it. I love the design. The Bible verse is one of my favorites, and yeah, so I'll show you what it looked like the last time you saw it. And I am stitching this on 40 count Mallow from Zweigart. It's an even weave. It's kind of a cotton linen blend, I think, but it's not linen, but it's very much like linen. And I'm stitching with the call for colors, 1 strand over 2 threads, because it's 40 count. So this is what it looks like now. And as you can see, I finished this border. I finished this border over here. I think since you last saw it, I've stitched all of this. I finished the Bible verse. So, to everything there is a season and a time, to every purpose under heaven. Ecclesiastes. And I turned the corner over here. So I've hit this point over here where I've hit this corner, and now I'm working across this way. All that's left to stitch is this great border, and of course the alphabets that run across the top. When I say all that's left to stitch, this border doesn't look like it's much, but there's a lot of stitching in that. So it looks like I'm really close to being finished, but it looks like I've got a couple of weeks left to stitch on this. So this is what I'll be stitching this week, and we'll see how far I get. it kind of depends on whether or not I get into a rhythm with this great border, I think. But yeah, so I'm really happy with where I am. So I just have to stitch this top and come down here. And then it'll be finished. This will be my second finish of the year, which is exciting. I'll have already broken my record from last year. Last year I only had one finish. So yeah, so probably by the time I show you my next video, this will be finished. That's kind of what I'm thinking. So this is Time and Season Sampler by Moira Blackburn. And it's an old design. Actually, Nicola in one of her videos recently showed her version that she stitched, which was kind of fun. So yeah, and I've had all sorts of people say, this is a special piece, I stitched it long, long ago. Lots of people have said that they've stitched that. And so it's been kind of fun to do that. So let's talk about my plans for a little bit. I have 2 more projects left in my rotation, and so 2 weeks with this and those 2 projects, and I'll have finished my rotation. And I'm kind of trying to decide what I'm going to do next, whether I'm going to continue to have a focus piece, or I've also considered kind of paring my rotation down to 5 or 6 pieces, just to work on choose some and leave some for later as I finish. Also, I told myself that with 2 finishes I could start something else, so I'm also considering that. I'll show you kind of what I've done. I've always enjoyed Brenda's big board that she uses to track her projects, and I came up with a way to kind of do that electronically. And I'll give you a screenshot of what I've done. This is done in Workflowy, which is an online editing, outlining type of tool. And you can also display things as boards. So this is what's known as a Kanban board, basically. And I've got all of, this is for 2022. I have a list of projects that I might start, a list of projects that I've started that are inactive, that I haven't worked on for a long time, a list of projects that are in my rotation but I haven't stitched this year, and there's still like 4 or 5 projects on there. And then there's a list of everything that I've worked on this year, minus my focus piece and the piece that I've finished. So the plan is I'll just move things around as they change from one place to another. And so this is kind of a nice way to get a bird's eye view of all of my projects. And so I'm either going to keep it this way, or I'm going to move stuff into the inactive and then just have a rotation, depending on what I decide to do. At any rate, that I think is a good summary of where things are right now. Also, I'll show you my whip status graph, and I think I'm going to try to morph it between what I showed you last time and what it looks like this time, so you can kind of see what has changed. I haven't done that yet, so I'm not quite sure what it's going to look like, but I'm pretty sure you're going to see a big jump in progress with Time and Season Sampler, and then a little jump with the other 3 projects that I've been working on. This is looking pretty good to me also. Yeah, so you can kind of see I've got like 3 projects that are significantly stitched, and then others that are, well, you can kind of see the projects that are smaller that are require less stitching because their bars are popping up, right? And you can kind of get a feel for it. If I wanted to do a whole bunch of finishes, I know what pieces I could do, and I could finish a lot really fast. But I don't want to finish all of the easy stuff, because then that'll have me left with all of the big stuff. So I'm kind of trying to be judicious in deciding what I'm going to go for a finish. So anyway, so that's kind of where things stand. And that's about all that I have to show you. So this week I'm going to work on Time and Season Sampler. And then the week after, I will probably be working on Angot, which is a sampler that I started last year, and that's the next piece in my rotation. So if you want to follow my progress on Instagram and see what I actually do, you can follow me on Instagram. I am at blitstitch on Instagram. I always enjoy hearing from you, and we would be glad to answer any questions that you have. If you haven't yet, feel free to subscribe to this video so that you can, and ring the bell. That way you'll be notified whenever I post new videos. And as always, feel free to like this video if you've enjoyed it. That also helps a lot. Thank you for spending time with me. I hope that you have a good week and a good month, and we will talk to you later. Goodbye.